Monday, June 20th, 2016, Board of Health meeting. And we'll start the meeting by pledging allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. The final meeting of the Board of Health till September. We'll have the summer off, July and August. There are no scheduled meetings, and we will discuss later in the meeting about what happens if anything happens over the summer and how we can communicate with each other about any new issues that need to be spoken about. I did print out a copy of the May minutes, but it looks like it went into the packet. Is that correct? Everybody got a copy? Okay. So the May minutes, I did get a chance to briefly look through, and everything looked pretty square. Did anybody have any changes or additions to the May minutes? Nothing. Seeing that there's nothing, we'll bring it to a vote. Is there a call for a vote on the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes of May.
A move to accept the minutes has been said. Any nays? All in favor of accepting the minutes for May 16th, 2016, aye?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes will be published on the website then. Okay. And let's move on to the health officer's report. Mr. Tautone, thanks.
Good afternoon, and hope everybody has a nice, good summer, summer break there. Report for May of 2016. We did 19 food safety inspections, 23 bathing place inspections, and we had 7 quality of life issues ranging from a dog bite to a police officer. In the red, I tried to put down what the result was. The dog was current with his rabies vaccine at the time of the incident. One house cat had a contact with a bat. The worry was to make sure that it didn't have rabies. The cat was not current with his vaccine, so it's now in the quarantine. One complaint of foodborne illness. Could not confirm the source. The person did not seek medical medical treatment, so we couldn't confirm that it was a foodborne illness was the result. We had an overflowing dumpster situation with multi-restaurants we had to deal with. One raccoon that tested negative for rabies, and one situation where there was mold unnoticed in food, and we had a problem with mold in a residential unit. After I sent out the alerts, advisories, and updates, we received another one, which was Health Advisory number 339, which was the Zika virus prevention guidance for pregnant women. So ends my report.
Thank you so much, Larry. And I believe that the search is still on for an assistant in Township for health
yes.
officer?
At the end of last month's meeting, we had 2 phone calls that people that were interested. This week, we received one of the applicants, and then today we received the second one. So it took them a while to get them to us. And you have to excuse me a little bit, I kind of stutter. So that's my report.
Thank you so much. To just kind of wrap up a few things, going again on what Larry was speaking of, Mr. Johnson was speaking of, with the Zika and the pregnancy alert, just for Pennsylvania residents to be aware. There have been reported cases of Zika, however, none of them have been transmitted in Pennsylvania. They were received on vacations and travel. Then I don't believe there have been any pregnant women who have tested positive for Zika in Pennsylvania. The current conditions with Zika, I believe we will see Zika in the U.S. Prior to the end of the summer. Puerto Rico is having an outbreak of some significance, and I believe there is predictions that the Zika will make it up the coast as far as Washington, D.C. was the last I read on the CDC website. So again, as we always do, we are protecting ourselves from mosquito bites by using products that protect us like DEET, and using clothing and screening to protect ourselves from insect bites as well, although Pennsylvania does not seem to be a high risk for transmission of Zika virus via mosquito. However, on vacation, us Pennsylvania residents could be exposed. As we continue to talk about some old business from the year, this past year on the Board of Health, we never really got a formal proposal together for the turf fields, but I believe that is a goal we should have for a more formal presentation or proposal for the EAC and for the Board of Commissioners to give our recommendations on making our turf fields as safe as we possibly can with the current information that we know. We had a great presentation this year about turf fields, and we think our township has done a wonderful job in keeping them safe, but we want to make sure our children are washing their hands and keeping some of the unnecessary debris from the field from getting into their lungs, their clothing, and into our homes. A great presentation as well last meeting about opiates. Thank you very much again, and we will continue as a board to make recommendations to the public about the crisis with opiates in this nation, and there seems to be new information every week coming out and new statistics coming out that seem more and more concerning about the opiate problems in this country. We did a complete speaking about dog parks, and that there wouldn't be a formal recommendation from the Board of Health. However, we are clear about these parks where the dogs can run free in our township. We have to exercise caution with our pets and with ourselves, simply because the dogs are free and not on a leash. And then we also had a great presentation earlier in the year about laundry detergent packets, and interestingly enough, P&G, Procter & Gamble, the parent company for Tide Pods, has started a national campaign. I received some information from the company this past week about a new packaging they're having for their pods to protect children from poisoning. The new packaging includes a child guard lock on the pouches. I'll kind of hold it up for the screen, but a child guard pouch for the pouches, and also a sort of a promotional campaign by the company about how to store your pods and about how to keep them out of the reach of children with these refrigerator magnets that they're posting and giving out to pediatricians and I think to supermarkets across the country for people to be aware to keep these poisons away from their children. We also know that the Radnor Township has some awesome activities and events. There's packets available at the Township building. They came out in the is it monthly or bi-monthly, the magazine, I can't remember, but or it's a couple times quarterly, whatever. It came out this year. We did get it in the mail at my home as well. But it seems like there just seems to be an activity every single weekend through the summer. Awesome events, including Phillies games on the big screen out in the field, summer concerts, movies, and so many great camps and programs that our township makes available. So please utilize all of these awesome resources this summer and get out there and be active. One more piece of older business. I received an email we all received an email from Mary Ann McCarthy, one of the board members, that I believe Chanticleer, which has a vegetable garden, has a lot of extra produce, and thinking about reaching out to someone who comes to the meeting often and has a lot of the donation from the from the Skunk Hollow Farm, correct? Community garden. They provide their extra produce for the needy, and we'll put the two in contact hopefully and figure out if we can get some more fresh fruits and vegetables out to the lower income and needy people. So that'd be great. Okay. I believe as far as old business goes, that's kind of a wrap up of the year, but we will willing to take on any more new business that anybody, or any more old business anybody has, and we'll talk about some new business, which will today just be a presentation mostly from our great student today. Any other new business, old business? Okay. So Amelia, we will ask you, if you don't mind, to start your presentation. Is that okay? Thank you. So one of the activities that we have our students help us with each year, in addition to being great minute takers at the meetings, and also learning a bit about the community and about how the government works in our local township. Our students also work on a presentation through the year with the assistance of board members on something to do with health. And yours, Emily, is on?
Head injuries in sports and especially concussions. So over the past year, when I got the opportunity to look into a common health issue in our society, one of the most immediate things that popped into my head was the whole idea of head injuries in sports, because it's definitely something that I think is very common within our community, and it's something that I see a lot of times within kids my own age. So statistically, about 21% of 1.6 to 3.8 million teens and young kids who get head injuries get them as a result of sports. And most of these sports tend to be football, soccer, ice hockey, etc. And so, as you can see in this chart up here, this was done by the Institute of Medicine a few years back, but it shows how while many sports often result in more head injuries at the college level, some of them, especially football and women's soccer, result in more at the high school level. So we want to make sure that our teenagers and our young kids are aware of what sports they play, when they play them, and more importantly, how they play them. So to give you some background information, a traumatic brain injury, or TBI, could be defined as, quote, a blow or jolt to the head or a penetrating head injury that disrupts the normal function of the brain. So in other words, it's just basically a hit in the head that keeps the brain from functioning properly. And it can have a very wide range of effects, from maybe simply resulting in unconsciousness to, in very extreme cases, leading to death. So a concussion would be considered a mild form of a TBI, and it would be defined as just a temporary loss in brain function and in some cases unconsciousness. And the causes can be either a direct hit in the head or a fall, or in some extreme cases, if the force is very powerful and it hits another part of the body, it can be transmitted to the brain and can therefore cause the brain to shake and cause a concussion. So the effects of concussions, again, vary a lot. The symptoms usually result a few days or a few weeks afterwards, and they can include pain in the back or neck, nausea, dizziness and confusion, ringing in the ears, exhaustion, difficulty walking, talking, sleeping, basically moving, and also in some extreme cases, seizures. Now, as a result of these symptoms, not only is the person who gets the injury harmed, but also their teachers, their coaches, their teammates, because they can't resume with all of their daily activities for quite some time. A greater issue is then multiple concussions. This is when a person gets one concussion, and then before they completely heal from it, they get a second one, which basically amplifies the effects of the first one, and this can result in greater permanent damage when it comes to kids and teenagers. The effects can include headaches, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and loss of physical skills such as walking. And then over time, if someone gets numerous concussions over the course of many years, this can lead to an irreversible condition known as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. The effects of this include, again, trouble moving, depression, suicidal thoughts and actions, memory loss, dementia, and even drug and alcohol abuse. Up here on the board, we have a picture of the cells from a healthy brain, and then those of a football player and a boxer that have both suffered from CTE. So clearly, the brains of both the athletes who have CTE are much more deteriorated as compared to those of the healthy brain, which really kind of puts into perspective the severity of this condition. But so then, why is damage in the brain so harmful? Well, for starters, neurons can regenerate, so any direct damage to them is for the most part permanent. And brains also keep developing until usually around 25 years old. So it isn't just elementary kids that are harmed. It is middle school, high schoolers, and even college level players can sustain damage to a still developing brain. Now, while oftentimes we associate head injuries with the professional level, such as the NFL, because that's where we hear about it most often on the news, they are in fact very common within our communities, such as in Radnor, and among our kids. So recently, I spoke to Dr. Andrew Forman, and so he's a pediatrician over at Paoli, and he roughly estimated that about 85% of the kids he sees at the primary care level who get concussions get them as a result of sports. He said that most of them are usually high schoolers who play either soccer or football, and most of the concussions he sees are single concussions, but he has in fact seen several multiple concussions, and those kids have then had to, in some cases, go on to rehab. There are certain safety precautions in place, though, to identify and then treat a concussion. There's the acute concussion evaluation, or ACE form, and the way this works is that a player would fill it out, basically describing their symptoms, and this could hopefully help better show whether they have a concussion and the severity of it. Then, if it is determined that they do have a head injury, there is usually a 7 to 14-day wait period after the initial incident before the person can resume with their daily activities. Over the course of these 1 to 2 weeks, there is a certain multi-step protocol that a player would have to go through, starting off with basically no school and no sports in some cases, and then going on to allowing them to resume with school, just not with sports, then allowing a little bit of exercising, then allowing sports as long as there's no direct contact, and then afterwards that person can go to the doctor, and if they're cleared, then they can continue on to go to the practices, and finally they can fully participate in the games once again. But even with these certain protocols in place, there are still impediments to finding out if someone has a concussion. For starters, about 47% of people don't notice it statistically, and there's also the issue of having some symptoms from concussions being very similar to those of, say, a flu or some kind of other illness. So it could be hard to pinpoint the direct cause of a certain symptom. There is also the problem of honesty, because when a player fills out an ACE form, they do have to be honest with their symptoms, because not every single one can be noticed by an outsider. And if they really want to resume back, and if they want to resume with the game and they want to go back to their team and play, they might essentially not be completely honest about what they're experiencing, and this can lead to misdiagnosis. There's also the issue of coach and parent awareness, maybe not necessarily in our schools, but more so within the teams that play separate from the schools that have parents watching over the kids, because they might not always realize when someone gets hit in the head, and they may not always take them out of the game afterwards. Well, to get the flip side of things, I then talked to Mr. Michael Friel, who is the athletic director at Radnor High School, and he describes certain safety changes that have been made in order to help protect athletes. So in football and wrestling, they have both started teaching certain falling and tackling techniques, and then in football, they have started using better helmets and have also limited the amount of playing time in full pads. In lacrosse, they have also instituted a foul rule within some schools where if a player hits another player over the shoulders, then that player would suffer a penalty. And the main point of this is to discourage that player from hitting someone in the head and potentially causing a concussion. Then there is also the baseline, also known as the impact test, which is kind of similar to the ACE form in that a player would take it when they're perfectly healthy, and then if they were to get hit in the head, they would go through it again, and the results would be compared to the original results to see if they have suffered any brain damage. I then also spoke with Mr. Kevin Schneider, who is the athletic trainer at Radnor High School. And according to him, he sees more concussions within sports like football, soccer, wrestling, ice hockey, and lacrosse within our schools. And he estimates that about 20 to 30 concussions occur in our high school per year, which, I mean, personally, I think is still a pretty significant amount considering the size of our schools. But he also mentioned some other safety changes that have been made, such as limiting hitting within games in sports like football. But even considering all of these safety changes that have been made, considering the amount of time that it can take to treat a concussion and also the difficulty that often comes with even recognizing if someone has it, I think that it is important for us to consider not just how to cure a concussion after it happens, but more importantly, to stop it and prevent it from happening in the first place. And many organizations and people have started thinking about this as well. So for example, the American Youth Soccer Organization has established a new set of regulations for heading the ball. Now, kids younger than 11 can head the ball, and kids younger than 14 can only head it a limited number of times. Now, the problem I see in this that other people may realize is that if you have a coach and he, say, has 30 kids with him and he turns around, the next thing you know, they might all be bouncing a ball on their heads. And there's really no way to control that, so although the regulation may be helpful, implementing it may become a bit of a challenge. Then there's also the whole debate of helmets. So one group of people believes that helmets are unnecessary because they think that if you take away the helmets and take away the padding, the kids might feel more at risk, so they would be less likely to put themselves in dangerous situations in the game where they may get injured. But on the flip side of things, if you think about it, a lot of sports head injuries don't necessarily result from a tackle or a fall. It may simply be that the person isn't looking and gets hit in the head. And in that case, if that person doesn't have a helmet, they might sustain a head injury that could have been very easily avoided with a helmet. And so these group of people that have this viewpoint have started now implementing helmets in different types of sports where they were previously non-existent. For example, the girls' lacrosse team down in Florida has started using helmets, and also there have been soccer teams in several places that have started using helmets, such as the ones pictured up there. Now, of course, for now, there's no definite proof that these helmets are going to be helpful, but in the future, as more sports start using them, we may see a permanent result, or at least hopefully we'll see one. Now, what I found really intriguing is how military technology is now being targeted towards sports teams in order to prevent head injuries. Now, for now, these are only being used mainly by professional levels like the NFL, but because they can't always be easily used by these professional sports teams, there is a potential that they'll eventually make their way down to the college and hopefully even our high school and middle school levels. So up here we have a strap from the Army Research Lab. And so the way this works is that it would cushion the head of a player if they were to fall or get tackled, which would prevent the brain from shaking, which would hopefully stop a concussion from happening. But the problem is that if you were to use something like this, you would need equipment on top of your regular football gear. And so this could potentially hinder a player's ability to perform well in the game. But if you're thinking about middle school or high school sports, if something like this could be used, essentially the benefits from it could exceed the potential harm from it. There is also this mat that was developed from Biconic that could be put under turf fields, and what it would do is it would basically help cushion the head of a player if they were to fall on the turf field. Now, professional sports often use grass fields, so something like this couldn't really prove helpful. But when you think about fields like our high school football field that is made out of turf, if we could get bats like this under our turf fields, this could help protect a lot of kids. There's also a new football helmet that was developed by the University of Washington, and rather than just having one single layer to help protect the head of the football player, it has multiple different layers that would essentially help spread out the impact and the force from getting hit in the head. But so even taking all of these different regulations and different technologies into consideration, I think that what it all comes down to is pressure and education. Because while certainly no child or child's parent or coach would want them to get injured, they would also want to encourage them. But by saying things like, go put it out there on the field, give it your all, try your best, we may give very young kids the wrong idea, and they may essentially put themselves in risky situations in the game, whether they have a helmet or not. And this is also where the idea of education comes in. And both Dr. Forman and Mr. Friel agreed that education is something that's very important. And this wouldn't just be education for the parents and the coaches so they would know if someone has a head injury. This would be education for the kids themselves, the athletes, so that even if they're high school, middle school, or elementary school players, that they would be aware of what a concussion is and also the problems that can result from them. Now, of course, no child, especially if they're very young, is going to want to sit for hours and listen to a lecture on head injuries. And even if most of that information leaves their brains the second they walk out of the classroom, I think it would still be beneficial for them to be aware of what a head injury is, what could cause it, what are the effects of it, and also how to avoid it. At the very minimum, they should be aware that a concussion is a significant injury. Needless to say, this doesn't mean we should tell our kids to stop playing sports or eliminate sports from our schools, because they're fun, they help us stay active, and they help us stay fit. And chances are we're always going to keep playing them, and we're going to want to try our best, and we're going to put pressure on ourselves to not disappoint our families, our friends, our teammates, our coaches, and ourselves. But at the same time, we all, whether we be adults or kids or teenagers, should be aware of the problems that can result from concussions and the fact that they can impact us not just for those 7 to 14 days, but potentially for the rest of our lives. I think it's especially important for kids and teenagers to be aware of this, considering that they play, in some cases, every single day for multiple hours over the course of the school year. And when they play, they should think about whether that one goal, whether that one point in that one single game is really worth the risk. Thank you. And that's it. And that's we're excited. So.
Terrific job. Thank you so much. That was really, really wonderful. Good. You're really summarizing all the evidence and the educational stuff that's out there. It's really excellent. Just kind of, that we had this discussion a couple of months, it seems like it's a month or two ago, about all this stuff. And I think it's important for parents to know, like you're saying, there can be long-term damage from concussions because the neurons don't regenerate. Our brains are so plastic, where we have very, very, we're able to, it's called remolding. And I want parents to be aware that even though they had a concussion, not to be afraid that this is a long-term problem, but that we can remold and change even if there's damage. The problem becomes these people who have chronic concussions, and it does lead to injury of the tau proteins that you're showing up there, which end up causing permanent damages that can cause some real long-term issues. Impact testing, you also mentioned too, is a real common theme that I hear from parents when they come in and they say, well, my child was impact tested. Why don't we get an impact test and just see if he's able to return to play rather than worrying about a protocol? And I think it's important also for families to be educated to know that there is no test for concussion, unfortunately. There's no CAT scan, MRI, brain scan that says, yes, you have a concussion, no, you don't. It is like sort of that mesh of symptoms. The impact testing helps us and to figure out if a child's ready to return to play. And I think it's you did a great job sort of putting all that together and letting us know that. It's a subject that I think we continue to get new information on. It seems like almost every 6 months a new article is out in one of the pediatric journals about the consequences of concussions. And hopefully, as you move on, you'll continue to follow this interesting information, and we'll update the public when we get more information. But boy, what a great job, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I want to commend you, too. I thought the research that you got, the pictures and then all the different equipment on the horizon and Matt's and all was really incredible. Did a very, very nice job.
Thanks.
Your content and your delivery was excellent. You're ready to teach in the university. But I have a question for you.
Yes.
Even though it is not, there is not evidently high incidence, do you have any suggestions for basketball players?
Well, I mean, I don't think obviously that we can use something like helmets again for a sport like that, but that's again where I think education is the primary thing we have to kind of aim at, because we want to make sure that kids are cautious when they play, so that like they don't stand under the net, that they're wary where the ball is so that it doesn't hit them in the head. Because I mean, from my experience, like just even playing in gym, I know that whenever I get hit in the head, it's usually because I'm not being aware, I'm not watching. And when it comes to head injuries in basketball from simply falling, so again, that's kind of where it's essential for kids to kind of know their boundaries almost and know their limits and know that like, okay, if you can't run this fast, don't try and fall and slam your head. Like it's better to kind of slow down and be careful than to essentially put yourself at a very great risk of getting a head injury.
Thank you very much. You were great.
Okay, thanks. So, any more questions?
Will this information be posted on the Radnor Township website, the PowerPoint?
Can it be posted?
Is it possible?
I don't know.
I think it'd be very informative.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk with Jim about it, see if we can get that done. He's probably done it already.
It's probably there. One other thing is that Amelia is going to continue to work over the summer to summarize all this in an article for the Township newspaper. So that next quarterly one that goes out will be a nice summary, and she and I and others here can read her editorial before it goes out in
Yeah,
the
that'd be great.
August
Yeah.
edition. Yeah, so really great, Amelia. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll just, the last piece of new business that I could think of was that, communication with any summer issues that occur this summer, I think we can communicate via email. We did have a meeting last summer, I think in August, of a few of us that were that were available to just discuss some things that were happening in the township. So if anything does seem to occur over the summer that piques anybody's interest or has any concern about, please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to summarize, share with the board, and discuss if we need to meet prior to our September meeting. Our next meeting in September, by the way, is Monday, September 19th, again, 5:30. We sort of ended the year, started the year basically by changing the meeting time to 5:30. I think it's worked out a little bit easier for me, but again, I'm being a little bit, is it okay? It's been, okay. So
Yeah, I prefer it, I
Okay,
think.
great.
Me.
I'm glad that we can agree to the 5:30 time rather than the 5 o'clock time. Getting from work to here is a little difficult at that time. And I think we'll move into announcements if Dr. Leader would be kind enough to talk about our wonderful intern for the year that we'll start with today, and we'll talk about our other intern in September when he returns to a meeting in September for his presentation.
So Amelia, we're going to have you come up, and James, can you hear us back there? Do you have a camera that we could take a picture and post something on the website? In honor of your, James, you back there? We can go grab him if we need to get a camera. Okay, so Amelia, in honor of your great and fantastic work that you did this year, we would all like to present to you the Certificate of Appreciation. You are absolutely amazing. It was really fun to work with you, and you did an incredible job. Thank you. So can we all come down and present? Oh, you didn't sign her. Please sign. Larry, come on over. Sign? Very good. Thank you. That was amazing. You're a
Maybe
natural.
line up, how about we line up in front of the podium?
Okay.
Here, coming this way. You're in the front
You're in the
here.
front.
You're in the front
We'll
and
hand
center.
this
Here
to
you
you
go. There you go. There you go. A little tighter.
Larry won't play.
Squishing, squishing.
Larry won't play.
You got us?
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna take a couple of them, okay?
Because we're all blinking.
So let me take a couple more here. And great. Thank you.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you. Very nice. Job. That was amazing. When you were the president, we're going to go for you.
I see a lot of PowerPoint presentations. Usually I read off the slides.
Right?
It's like
That was
prepared and ready.
amazing.
Awesome job. Really nice.
She practiced once. I will mention, too, that our second intern, Neil, could not be with us today. He had a previous commitment. But he will be joining us in September to do his own presentation as well. And he's been looking at nutrition in the schools. And so we'll continue to work with him over the summer, and we'll see him in September. Yes.
Excellent.
Sure. Question. Do we have a mechanism for getting interns for the following year?
We have an ongoing mechanism that is a subcommittee of Linda and I. Anyone else is welcome to be on our subcommittee. But yes, so, we had started this process where we tried to start in the summer to get for the fall. And after a couple years, we really realized that you have to wait till the new crop of students come in September, they get settled in, and then they can think about it. So we usually start someone in October. But if you're interested in reviewing our applications, we'd love to have you on our little subcommittee. Sure.
There's students that you know of. Are you thinking at the college or?
No, I was just wondering how it happens.
Yeah, so we had decided a couple years back, I think this is probably about our 4th or 5th year now of interns, that we would do it with high school students in Radnor High School to have that pipeline for our public high school students. And we settled in on their sophomore year, which is what Amelia and Neil both are. Freshman year, we found that they were just getting oriented to high school. By junior year, they were applying to college. By senior year, they were up the door. And so we sort of center in on sophomores.
And this is awesome because you can really put it on your college application, all the work you've done here, so that'll really stand out.
Agreed. One more announcement. We'd like to, as a board, although she's not here, thank Mary Ann McCarthy for her years of service on the board, as well as her wonderful years of service in the township as a health teacher. and a great resource for the kids throughout her career here. Marianne is going to step down from the board as of this meeting. She couldn't make it tonight. We do have a certificate for her, and we will get that to her. Just from a personal point of view, really just a person who inspired us all to get involved in issues and some big issues that occurred while she was on the board, including some of the issues with the restaurants as well as the Teen Health Week and many other topics that I think she brought just great quality to the board, and I appreciate all of her years of help. I would move on to public presentation, but there's no public here to present anything, so we don't have to do any of that. And we will have the next board meeting, again, September 19th, 2016, Monday night at 5:30 p.m. here in the Radnor room as well. And if anything goes on in the summer, please, folks, email me, and have a great summer. Enjoy. Thank you so much for your service this year, and I will see everybody in the fall. Meeting is adjourned.